Hey everyone, welcome to Craven Something Scary, where it's all horror all the time. Now in this video, I'm going to continue discussing the possibility of bringing back characters from previous Scream films into Scream 6 or potentially even Scream 7. Now, if we do believe Radio Silence was being truthful when they said that everything is up for grabs in relation to the previous Scream films, then this character is certainly in play. So, now the time has come to discuss the possible return of Hank Loomis from Scream 1 and Scream 3. Let's go! So the first time we saw Hank Loomis was in Scream 1 after Billy had been arrested after making the jump in her window for the second time after Sidney was first attacked in the house. And Billy runs downstairs and he gets arrested. Dewey's at the door, holding up the ghost face mask. So they arrest Billy and then they're at the police station. And next thing you know, we see the Sheriff Burke, interviewing Billy, and there's his dad right next to him, sitting down through the interrogation. And that's the first time we see Hank Loomis, and we figure out who exactly he is. And he has the line, "For goodness sakes, why don't you run the phone records?" And he's like, "Thanks a lot, Hank. We're on top of it," right? Something to that effect. It's not an exact quote, but you guys remember the scene. And so we then see him leave with Billy. They walk out of the sheriff's office for Billy to be held, to put into the jail cell and held till they get the phone records back from the phone company, and they exit the police station, and that's pretty much it for Hank Loomis in Scream 1. Now, we see him again in Scream 3, but we don't see him as an active character on the screen in the movie. But we do see him at the reveal of Scream 3, when Roman Bridger pulls up the video screen there, and he's talking about how he's going to made his little family film. And there's where we see Hank Loomis with Maureen Prescott going into the motel room for one of their illicit rendezvous that they had. And so we see him there as well. Outside of these appearances, we don't really see him anymore. We don't hear anything more about him. We don't see him anymore. But there is more to Hank Loomis than just being Billy's dad and the person who one of the people who cheated with Maureen Prescott. No, there is more. We find out in his bio that Hank Loomis is actually a powerful attorney in Woodsboro. And that's not all, though. He also has connections to Hollywood. Yes, to Hollywood as well, being the primary senior lawyer and counsel for Sunrise Studios. Yes, that Sunrise Studios, where we infamously learned from Roman about the entire history with Milton and all of the things that went on in Milton's mansion, in the private screening room, and basically the entire story of Scream 3 is the effects of this type of behavior and abuse that Maureen Prescott went through at that time, Rena Reynolds, and we all know what happened from that point forward. So we find out that Hank actually is the primary lawyer, the senior lawyer for the studio. So there's a whole endless array of plot lines and storylines that you could write for this. You could do all types of interesting things. It's literally untapped. You could tap into this and make any backstory you want with Hank to bring him back into the fold. Bring him back into the current Scream films we're in now, which coming up, obviously we're talking about Scream 6, but we are also talking about Scream 7. Because we all know at the end of the day that this is probably going to be a Radio Silence trilogy. So I definitely, there's play here, okay? There's play for 6 and there's play for 7, or there's play for both if you want to make it, include them in both. It just depends what kind of role that they would want to do with Hank Loomis back in the picture. Now, the number one most glaring plot point to the return of Hank Loomis, which is the biggest in the room, it's the fact that Sam Carpenter is literally his granddaughter. I mean, Hank may not have Billy anymore, but he has Billy's daughter, biological granddaughter, Sam Carpenter. Now, we don't know at this point if Hank Loomis knows that he has a granddaughter. There's a very good chance Hank Loomis has no idea that Sam Carpenter is actually his blood granddaughter. Very, very good chance. Now, obviously, Sam knows, of course, but Hank may not know, especially if this was such a guarded secret and so tight-lipped that Dewey Riley himself did not even know that Sam was Billy's daughter. If you can, I'll tell you what, if the fact that Dewey didn't know that, being a resident of and in law enforcement there and all those years, then that tells me that nobody knew this. This was like, and how Amber found out about it, stuff doesn't add up. Her whole thing about, well, your mom's the town drunk and she's always talking. No, that doesn't make sense. If that's true, now maybe she's the town drunk, but she's not loose-lipped, because if she was, everybody in the friend group would have known who Sam was. Dewey would have known. There would have been no need for them to tell Dewey. He was shocked. He didn't know. So that whole line about how she's got loose, town drunk, she's telling everybody, no, I don't buy that. I never bought that line from the beginning. I said, you know what? If she is indeed, struggle with alcoholic issues, and that's a problem for her, one thing she's not is a talker, because everyone in that place would have known who Sam was before she came back. They would have been looking at her like, oh gosh, you know who that is? But no one knew. They were all shocked. So I say all that just to say, the fact is, Hank himself may have no clue that Sam is actually his granddaughter. I suspect he doesn't know. So the question then becomes, with all the events that happened in Scream 5, everything's going to be it's going to be publicized now and published that Sam is the daughter of Billy Loomis in Woodsboro. That local media, all those people, that's going to be unearthed now. It's no longer a secret. And so now Hank's going to find out he's got a granddaughter. He's going to find out about Sam. So the question then becomes, do we see Hank actively going after her, not in terms of necessarily trying to kill her, but going after her to find her, to meet her, to, have a relationship even with her? Or do we see Sam, maybe now that Sam is back and all that's happened, and now that she's kind of confronted the Billy Loomis within her, her daddy, all the stuff from her dad, and she's now like accepted who she is after she killed Richie, maybe she's ready to reach out to Hank Loomis herself. Maybe she's the one that takes the initiative and says, hi, Mr. Loomis or Hank or Grandpa, here I am. And then what if we see in Scream 6, there's a relationship between the two of these people, between Sam and Hank, and maybe Hank's brought back in and he's playing this kind of fatherly, role, this grandfatherly role that's missing. It's been missing in her life since her dad moved out when she was 13 or whatever it was. So all those years that she's not had a father or grandfatherly type figure that we are aware of anyway. What if Hank Loomis serves that role and he's around and he's not, he feels terrible for all the events of the past. His son was, a serial killer and was killed by Sydney, and then his wife went bonkers and killed, there's mastermind of killing people and all this stuff. He may be like, all I want is to have a family member that's not completely off their rocker. And even though Sam has now killed somebody too. So I don't know, poor Hank. I don't know, man. This guy here, again, not to say like he didn't deserve some bad stuff. I mean, he was not necessarily a nice guy, especially if you talk about, considering he was with Milton in the studio. he could have very well been aware of all that was going on, which makes maybe he's really a real scumbag. I mean, at the end of the day, we don't know. We just don't know anything about him. He may have not known anything about the Milton stuff. We can't just assume he knew, okay? We can say it's possible, but we don't know. So until we know, I give people the benefit of the doubt. So assuming he's a nice guy, normal guy, then, you know, this could turn out to be something that would be all right, having a relationship with her. And then, of course, you always could go off the rails and turn it around and say, well, then, you know, maybe Sam and Hank, maybe Hank's just, you know, after all this time, maybe he's just snapped now. Maybe he's masterminding some stuff. I mean, you could go that route if you wanted to. But I honestly think if they were to bring Hank back, I think it would be in a role of adding another character to the movie, some type of a supportive role for Sam, that grandfatherly figure, who may end up dead. Honestly, if they bring him back, they'll probably kill him. Okay, they probably will kill him, and I'd be like, you know, oh no, they killed my grandfather, and you know, right on down the line. So that could possibly happen too. But anyway, guys, I just wanted to put the idea out there of Hank returning and possibly coming back in this grandfather type role with Sam. And again, you could go other directions. You could make him a horrible person, and you could make him someone you are rooting for to get killed, or you can make him someone who really was kind of unaware of things, and he just wants a relationship with his granddaughter he didn't know he had. Okay, you could do it that way. So you could do it a lot of ways, but I want to know what you guys think. So tell me right now, what are your thoughts on this? I really want to know your theories, your thoughts, your ideas about bringing back Hank Loomis. Should we bring Hank back? Should they bring him back? Should we see that? Let me know. Start leaving your comments below right now so we can discuss it together. Well, guys, that's going to be it for this update, but I will be back soon with more Scream and other horror movie content. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, this is Craving Something Scary, where it's all horror all the time. Thanks for watching.